let me ask you something that's been eating at me since Raw went off the air. Why does WWE keep pretending we didn't see this coming from a mile away? Rhea Ripley and IYO Sky made their shocking return to save Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, and everyone's acting like this wasn't the most telegraphed comeback in WWE history. But here's what really has me fuming. While the wrestling world is celebrating Mami's return and losing their minds over the WARGAMES announcement, nobody is talking about how WWE just buried their women's tag team championships again. That's right. We just watched Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, two of the biggest names in women's wrestling, lose their titles because of interference for the third time this year. And somehow, that's supposed to be acceptable because we got a cool surprise return at the end? I don't think so. Let's tear this whole situation apart because I'm tired of WWE getting away with lazy booking just because they throw us a nostalgia pop. The 10th of November edition of Raw ended with what was supposed to be a major women's tag team championship match. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss defending their titles against the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi Sane. On paper, this should have been incredible. These are four of the most talented women on the entire roster. And you know what? For the first 15 minutes, it was incredible. Charlotte hit a moonsault that should be playing on loop at the Performance Center. Bliss was hitting her signature offense perfectly. Asuka and Sane were showing exactly why they are considered one of the best tag teams in WWE history. First question for the comments, who do you think is the most underrated wrestler in this entire segment? Drop your answer below because I want to see if we're thinking the same thing. But then, just when it looked like we were about to get a clean finish that would actually mean something, Nia Jax and Lash Legend came storming down to ringside. And just like that, everything we'd been watching for the past 15 minutes became completely meaningless. The referee got distracted, which is apparently the only qualification you need to be a WWE official these days. Asuka and Sane hit their finisher with the assist from the interference, and suddenly we have new women's tag team champions. Again, through interference. Again. Do you see the pattern here? This is the exact same formula WWE has been using for months, and they are hoping we're too distracted by the shiny returns to notice. Champions dominate the match, interference happens at the crucial moment, new champions are crowned through tainted means, and the commentary team sells it like it's genius heel work. It's not genius, it's repetitive, it's lazy, and it's disrespectful to everyone involved in that match who was working their tail off to give us something special. And here's where it gets even more infuriating. After the match ended, all four women, Asuka, Sane, Jax, and Legend, started beating down Flair and Bliss. For on 2, complete destruction. The new champions weren't satisfied with just winning the titles, they wanted to send a message. And in typical WWE fashion, nobody from the locker room came out to help. Not at first, anyway, because we needed to let the heels get their heat. We needed to make sure the beating looked brutal enough to justify what came next. Then IYO Sky's music hit, and the TD Garden in Boston erupted. She came sprinting down that ramp like her life depended on it, launched herself off the ropes with a springboard dropkick that took out Legend and both Kabuki Warriors. The woman hadn't been on TV since October, and she came back like she'd never left. She hit an uppercut on Nia Jax that looked absolutely vicious, and for a brief moment, it looked like she might actually even the odds. Second question for you guys, when was the last time IYO Sky had a real moment on WWE television before this return? Be honest in the comments because I genuinely can't remember, but of course, the numbers game caught up to her. Lash Legend dropped Sky with a massive right hand, and suddenly we're back to square one. For heels standing tall over 3 beaten down babyfaces, and the crowd is waiting for that one final piece of the puzzle. You could feel it in the arena. Everyone knew what was coming. The music hit. The place went absolutely nuclear, and Rhea Ripley, still wearing her protective face guard after breaking her nose in Japan last month, came charging down to that ring like the wrath of God. She took down Nia Jax. She took down Asuka. She floored Lash Legend with a big boot that probably gave Legend nightmares. And then, in what might be the coolest visual of the entire night, the babyfaces kicked Nia Jax out of the ring before Ripley delivered a devastating razor's edge, throwing Kairi Sane onto the pile of heels on the outside. The crowd was losing their minds. Ripley grabbed a microphone, climbed over the top rope with IYO Sky by her side, and screamed one word into that mic: WARGAMES. And there it is. Women's WARGAMES is officially happening at Survivor Series. Rhea Ripley, IYO Sky, Charlotte Flair, and Alexa Bliss against the Kabuki Warriors, Nia Jax, and Lash Legend. 4-on-4 inside the most brutal match structure WWE has to offer. And I'll admit, the announcement gave me chills. The visual of Ripley standing tall, the crowd chanting along, the heels laying in a heap on the floor, it was perfect television. But here's my problem, and I need you to stay with me on this because it's important. WWE just sacrificed the credibility of their women's tag team championships to set up this match. Think about that for a second. Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, two absolute legends of women's wrestling, just lost their titles through interference for the sole purpose of creating enough heat to justify a WarGames match. The titles weren't the story, the championships weren't what mattered, they were just props used to create chaos so Ripley and Sky could make dramatic returns. Third question for the comment section: do you think WWE treats the women's tag team championships with the respect they deserve? Yes or no, and tell me why. And you know what the worst part is? This isn't the first time this has happened. These women's tag team championships have been passed around like a hot potato all year, and almost every single title change has involved some form of interference or screwy finish. When was the last time we saw a clean title change in the women's tag division? When was the last time two teams went out there and had a definitive finish where the better team won on that night? I genuinely can't remember, and that's a massive problem. The Kabuki Warriors are incredible performers. Asuka is a former WWE Women's Champion and one of the most accomplished wrestlers in company history. Kairi Sane is beloved by fans and can work with absolutely anyone. They deserve better than winning championships through interference. Charlotte Flair is a multi-time champion across multiple divisions and arguably the greatest women's wrestler of her generation. Alexa Bliss has reinvented herself multiple times and proven she can work any style. They deserve better than losing championships because WWE needed to create a moment for returning stars. Now let's talk about the returns themselves, because I do have some positive things to say here. Rhea Ripley's comeback was executed perfectly, the timing was right, the crowd reaction was enormous, and you could see the fire in her eyes even behind that protective face guard. She's been out since October dealing with that broken nose, and instead of rushing her back for a random appearance, WWE saved her for a moment that mattered. That's good booking. That's smart storytelling. IYO Sky's return was equally well done. She's been off television since October as well, and WWE's creative team made the right call saving her for Ripley's return. These two have history together. They've teamed before. The chemistry is there, and seeing them stand side by side, ready for war against the Kabuki Warriors after everything that went down between them, that's compelling television. That makes me want to see War Games. Question number 4, out of the 8 women involved in this women's War Games match, who do you think will be the MVP? Give me your prediction. But here's where I need WWE to be better. You can create these big moments without sacrificing your championships. You can build to War Games without making your titles feel secondary. Look at how they are handling the men's War Games match. Centimeter Punk, Cody Rhodes, and IYO versus The Vision and Logan Paul. That match feels earned. Those storylines have been building naturally for weeks. Nobody had to lose a championship through interference to make that match happen. It exists because the rivalries are compelling enough on their own. The women deserve that same level of care and attention. Instead of having Flair and Bliss lose through interference, you could have built to War Games in a dozen different ways. Maybe Ripley and Sky challenge the Kabuki Warriors to a match, and during that match, Nia Jax and Lash Legend interfere, leading to Flair and Bliss coming out to even the odds. Now you have 8 women who all have legitimate gripes with each other, and the championship match can happen separately with the respect it deserves. But that requires patience. That requires long-term storytelling. And apparently, that's too much to ask. Let me address the elephant in the room that I know some of you are thinking about right now. But this is wrestling. Heels are supposed to cheat. That's what makes them heels. And you're absolutely right. Heels should cheat. Heels should take shortcuts. But there's a difference between occasional interference that adds heat to a rivalry and constant interference that makes every single match feel predictable. When interference becomes the norm rather than the exception, it stops being effective. It stops creating genuine outrage and instead creates exhausted apathy. And that's where WWE is right now with the women's tag team division. We've seen this movie so many times that we can quote the dialogue before it happens. Champions are winning? Interference. New champions crowned? Interference. Someone's making a comeback? Interference. At some point, you have to let your wrestlers actually wrestle and let the outcomes matter without always relying on the same tired formula. Now, let's talk about what's coming next because War Games at Survivor Series is going to be absolutely insane. 4 women on each team inside 2 rings surrounded by a cage. Weapons are legal. Anything goes. And based on the talent involved, this match has the potential to be one of the best women's matches of the entire year. Rhea Ripley is one of the most physically dominant women in WWE history. IYO Sky can fly around that cage and hit moves we've never seen before. Charlotte Flair has competed in some of the biggest matches in WrestleMania history. Alexa Bliss has shown she can adapt to any environment. On the other side, the Kabuki Warriors are former women's tag team champions multiple times over, and they know how to work together better than almost any team in the division. Nia Jax is a powerhouse who can throw people around like they weigh nothing. And Lash Legend, while relatively new to the main roster, has all the tools to be a star. This match is stacked. The potential is through the roof. And if WWE books it right, if they let these women go out there and tear the house down without overbooking it to death, we could be talking about this match for years. Final question for everyone watching: what's your bold prediction for Women's War Games? Who takes the fall? Who's the breakout star? Tell me in the comments. But here's what I need from WWE moving forward. Respect your championships. If you're going to have title matches, let them feel important. Let the outcomes matter. Don't use your titles as plot devices to set up other storylines. The Women's Tag Team Championships should be prestigious. They should be something that teams are desperate to win and even more desperate to keep. Right now, they feel like an afterthought, and that's unacceptable when you have this much talent in your women's division. Rhea Ripley and IYO Sky are back, and that's genuinely exciting. The pop they got was incredible. The War Games match they set up has all the ingredients to be spectacular. But we got here through lazy, formulaic booking that undermined a championship that should mean more. And as fans, we need to hold WWE accountable for that. Even while we celebrate the returns, we can be happy about the good stuff while still demanding better execution of the bad stuff. So here's what I want you to do right now. If you're excited about Rhea Ripley and IYO Sky being back, let me know in the comments. If you're frustrated about how the Women's Tag Team Championships are being treated, tell me that too. Hit that like button if you think this video makes sense, or leave me a comment telling me I'm completely wrong. Share this with your wrestling friends because these conversations matter. WWE listens to fan feedback, and if enough of us speak up about wanting better storytelling around the women's championships, maybe, just maybe, they'll start booking them with the respect they deserve. Women's War Games is happening. The 30th of November at Survivor Series. 8 of the most talented women in WWE stepping into one of the most dangerous match structures in professional wrestling. The potential is absolutely there for this to be a classic. Rhea Ripley is back, IYO Sky is back, and they are ready for war. Let's just hope WWE doesn't sacrifice more championships along the way to get there. Until next time, this is Wrestling Zone 1, and I'll see you when we find out if anyone else gets added to either War Games team. Something